Yes!
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Completionist. I didn't write today's little prompt card thing today because I wanted to have an earnest discussion about today's game. So, when I think of indie games, I think of Super Meat Boy and Edmund and Tommy. I think of Yacht Club games with Sean and Jake and the Yacht Club crew for Shovel Knight. I think of Jonathan Blow with Braid. And one game that has been loved since the beginning of indie games' popularity has been Bastion, but I feel like no one ever really talks about what Bastion's about, how it feels, what it's like to really explore the game from a designer standpoint and from, a gamer standpoint. So, with that said, let's take a different look at Bastion. Bastion was first released on July 20th, 2011 on the Xbox Live Arcade, with a 2-year development period and a team of only 7 people. I can't emphasize how mind-blowing that is. The game looks and feels like a AAA title, and it was only made by 7 people. And a month after its Xbox Live Arcade release, we saw its release onto Steam. And today, Bastion has been ported to almost every major platform. The true origin story of Supergiant Games started when the heads of the team, Amir Rao and Gavin Simon, decided they wanted a development speed that would allow for a small team to test out cool new ideas. And Bastion was the perfect first game for them to put out. Let's take a look. Things get rolling almost immediately after starting up the game. We get a brief narration on the screen about how this particular story doesn't quite have a proper beginning before cutting to a shot of the character known as the Kid. No, not Disney's 2000 family-friendly Bruce Willis vehicle, the Kid, just a normal, cool young boy. He's sound asleep in a bedroom floating in the middle of what used to be the city of Celandia. The rest of the level is a basic tutorial with the narration continuing as you progress to the evacuation center, better known as the Bastion. Once he's there, the Kid runs into Rux, the game's narrator and the only survivor in the building. Finally, someone gets around to you letting you know what happened. An event known as the Calamity caused the city to fracture, with many of the areas surrounding it also falling apart. The balance of nature is completely disrupted, and most of the people living within the city are reduced to ash. This is some pretty heavy stuff, Doc. Rux then informs us that collecting the cores that once powered Celandia and placing them in a device found within Bastion could rebuild the city, which also enables us to explore more of the world using skyways that propel us through the air. With no other options left, the Kid chooses to collect the cores and start the long journey of putting everything back together. Now this has to be one of the best collectathon stories I've heard of, and trust me, I've played a lot of them. As you collect the cores and begin to explore different areas, you end up running across 2 more survivors of the Calamity. One is Zolf, an ambassador from an underground dwelling people known as the Ura, who had been at war with Celandia until he was sent to start permanent peace talks. And Zia, an Ura girl raised by her father in Celandia. Now, Bastion's story is clearly focused on the tale of a young boy in a dense and empty world, with an illustrative narrator that ties everything together. The biggest draw for me in the story so far is in fact the narrator. He's serious and certain about what he's talking about at almost every moment, but it's almost comical with how he comments on every single thing.
Then Kid finds his trusty shield. Wasn't long before the Kid could loose an arrow. No sign of the core here. Somehow that old forge is still standing, but it's locked down tight in an alloy cage. Kid breaks him to bits. Must have been guarding that shrine.
Yeah, dude, we get it. You state the obvious. But goddamn, you're a badass.
Right back at you.
Tonally, Bastion needs to empower the player within the juxtaposition of the empty landscape. The original idea behind Bastion was to create a town similar to the ones found in old role-playing games, and I think they did quite well. The Supergiant team went with design elements that showcased everything. Chunks of dust, old crates, you name it, and everything there matters as an obstacle to overcome, or something to help rebuild the Bastion. And since an isometric camera always points down, it's usually not possible to see a sky in any setting that would have one. Because of this design dilemma, they chose to make the world a crumbling, floating place, with plenty of ways to show off the lush and colorful scenery. Now they repeat this to a better effect in their newer game Transistor, but even here, it really gives an easy indicator of how far you've come. whether you've reached a brand new level or finished putting an old one back together. It also sidesteps any need for a map because the level literally appears as the kid wanders around the area. It's easy to see where you've already been because of that, and they really do a good job making it feel natural.
It's got, dandelions?
Dude!
And it's so much easier to get in the zone when stuff like this feels effortless. This is also another point where the gameplay synchronizes with the story. Instead of one informing the other, they both drive each other along equally. You know what I mean? It's like you can't have a peanut butter or jelly sandwich on their own. They have to be together in order to be copacetic. Overall, the game has a really nice visual flair to it. When she came onto the team, designer Gen Z decided to use an art style that expressed some level of beauty even in a post-apocalyptic world. The choice of an oiled paint-like quality was also meant to soften the game and differentiate it from other isometrics, which tend to look very angular and have less organic shapes, and try and capture some of that lost retro charm from old Japanese isometric games, and the pixel art that used to be the standard in this industry. The music and audio in this game is fantastic. It's just as much a building block for the feel of the game as the visuals or the story. The narrator, voiced by Logan Cunningham, tends to have a soundbite ready for almost anything the player does, including the kid falling off a level if a player doesn't quite realize where the edge starts.
And then he falls to his death. I'm just fooling.
Roasted! But seriously, it's the little things, like discovering Zia by hearing the sound of her voice in an area, adds to the feeling that the player and the kid are actually looking for survivors in a fully fleshed out world, and that there really was some awful disaster here. It's just really top-notch work all the way around, guys. I mean, maybe, hey, this message might be for Supergiant Games. If you guys are ever in LA, if you live in LA, I don't know your living situation, I don't want to judge, but hey, if you're around, I'll buy you guys dinner. Yeah, I'm in. Are you in? Oh wait, they can't respond to this. Bastion is a very pick-up-and-play game thanks to the standard keyboard controls. The game's isometric view lets this hack-and-slash 3D adventure shine brighter than that creepy lamppost on the corner of your street. The simplistic controls help in this case, as most games usually start with a few awful tutorial levels that often make that first hour of gameplay super annoying. As we mentioned before, the levels actively form paths as you move along. These paths are also on a single 3D plane, which sometimes make it a bit tricky to judge the line of fire of an enemy or vice versa. The kid gets 2 weapons and a special attack, which are easily accessible on the mouse. Each one of these weapons and special attacks must be found or made before they can be used, and starting out, you can only use each one a few times. You can activate these secret skills by drinking a black tonic, which can either be found in levels themselves or sometimes left behind by an enemy when they die. We also have a standard health bar, which is refilled by health tonics or water, or Arizona iced tea. You know, if it was like a super hot day and the fridge was out and... Alright, look, there's not really actually Arizona iced tea in this game, but man, I really want one. Arizona iced tea! Give us free drinks. And money. And really anything you're willing to give us. Please. Give us free drinks for the audience! If you're watching and you're in the audience and you want an iced tea, tweet at Arizona iced tea, I want a free iced tea. You don't have to do that. You should do it. Each level has a different environment and enemy type, but the end goal is always the same: find a core or shard, and then make a break for it, because the level starts vanishing as soon as you take the piece holding it together. Like the picture of Marty's family from Back to the Future, but way scarier. In between missions, you can visit the Bastion and begin customizing your gameplay style a little bit by buying materials or upgrading weapons, or even getting bonuses for upgrading the Bastion itself. If you're looking for more of a challenge, the shrine is the thing to unlock for you. The idols inside can be invoked and increase enemy strength, while giving increased experience points and rewards for the trouble. You can also train and collect pets, which are unlocked through items called mementos, or bought at, I kid you not, the Lost and Found. Once you're done training your pets, upgrading weapons, and making tasty drinks for your adventure, the kid leaves the Bastion and has the option to pick between a couple of regular levels to explore, or the Proving Ground, a challenge course for the players wanting to practice or test their current weapon setup. Proving Grounds has 3 tiers of prize items based on your score, so you should always be doing your best. Once the player receives the first place prize in a level and masters their current weapon equipped, the level is completed for good and sealed off. Oh man, that totally satisfies my completionist OCD. There's also a special part of the Proving Grounds for players interested in learning more about the story. So, if you're up to dealing with waves and waves of enemies, the kid can journey to a place simply called Who Knows Where, and fight while the narrator goes into detail about a character's backstory. Each part of Who Knows Where is opened up by discovering a memento within the game, and can be played as many times as you want. Each successful completed level awards bonus experience and fragments, so it's well worth to try them out and give everything a listen. It's so awesome to actually get more story as I grind through waves of bad guys for once, that I'm going to come back on camera right now to say it one more time.
Why yes, Bastion is so awesome.
If you want to view paradise. Now, there's a lot to this story that takes place, so prepare to ingest a lot of information. This game does one of those fascinating turns where after you've done one task and it seems like you're almost at the end, something occurs, and the game becomes longer than once thought. By the time the kid leaves to retrieve the final core, everyone prepares to return to their old life. Or so they think. When Zia first comes to the Bastion, she brought a guitar and a journal written by her father in the traditional Yura language. While Rux understands pieces of the journal, the quartet ultimately leaves Zolf to translate the journal, and he finishes the task while you're away. When he's done, he discovers that the calamity was really the result of a weapon built by the scientists of Solandia, known as the Mancers. Zia's father then was forced to be a part of the project, and the ultimate goal was to destroy the remainder of the civilization and end the ongoing war at last. Ven sabotages the design, and when it deploys, the city undergoes the calamity it meant for the other land. Zolf grows so enraged that he wrecks the monument, the one part of the Bastion that can put Solandia back together. He flees soon after, and it's up to the kid to gather the shards and repair the damage he's done, even as Zolf warns the Ura about what happened and has them begin a shard hunt of their own. As the kid collects the next to last shard needed to repair the monument in the Bastion, the Ura attack, furthering damaging it and abducting Zia in the process. The kid spends 7 frantic days heading for the Ura territory and fighting the enemies he comes across along the way before landing in an outpost and finding Zia. It turns out she chose to go with them in order to confirm the truth behind the Bastion and whether or not the calamity really was meant for them after all. The kid continues on to the final Ura city, and when he arrives, he encounters Zolf being attacked by the very people he tried to help. They attempt to battle the kid, wreck their remaining forces, and they blame Zolf for leading him straight to them. At this point, you can make a choice about Zolf's possible fate, and it changes a small part of the ending for the current game. If you choose to leave Zolf behind, the kid destroys the remainder of the Ura and escapes through a skyway. If you decide to have the kid drop his weapon and save Zolf, Ura archers begin to fight until they realize what the kid is doing and watch them escape to the Bastion without interfering any further. After the kid returns and rests up, Rux presents another choice, and one that affects the full ending of the current game. Since the kid has successfully obtained all the cores and the shards, Rux can have the Bastion rewind time before the calamity in the hopes of preventing it, or use the Bastion to evacuate the remainder of the survivors and move on to somewhere safe. Rux admits that he's not sure whether there's any way to prevent the calamity from reoccurring if you choose to rewind time, as there was no real way to test this process, but the final choice does remain with you. After picking one ending or the other, the credits roll and reveal the surviving characters either flying away or reverting back to their lives before the calamity. This is where you'll also see Zolf if you help save him in the end. That's kind of happy, right? Right? That's kind of happy, right? That's a good ending? Yeah. Great. After the credits roll, Bastion awards the player with a New Game Plus mode, which allows you to replay the game while retaining certain aspects of your first playthrough. It's always a bit tricky to figure out what is and what isn't allowed, but in this case, you keep your experience points, your levels, any remaining fragments, your secret skills, and the weapons and upgrade materials for each weapon you acquired over the first file. You can also keep most of the prizes received in the Proving Grounds, any leaderboard scores you've earned, and the idols from the shrine. You also receive more expansion options for the Bastion, as well as 2 more journeys through Who Knows Where. What you can't keep is the actual completion of the entire Proving Grounds, or the prizes associated with that completion, your additions to the Bastion, and the memento items that triggered Who Knows Where in the first place. You also need to wait until you discover your arsenal that allows you to change your weapons, before you can have access to everything from the last game. but once you do, it's fairly smooth sailing. The same goes for the Bastion upgrades. Any upgrades are kept between games, and you can make them in any order you want, once you have the ability to access them again. The exception is the Lost and Found, which must be upgraded every playthrough before you can buy everything the kid's heart desires. Each new unlockable ties into winning the achievements necessary to 100% the game. Now, looking at the grand scheme of things, unfortunately there isn't a completion bonus beyond the new stuff received after beating the game the first time. But it's also enough that there was more to a second time playthrough. It made the game feel deeper without feeling imposing. However, needless to say, with all of those challenges in the proving grounds, and all of the idols increasing the difficulty every time, this will not be an easy adventure for you. And hey, for you Portal fans out there, there's even a little Easter egg where the turrets from Portal appear. And they're just as cute as ever.
Is this sin?
Don't get her too excited now. No telling what she'll do.
Bastion is that gift your friend gave you and you forgot about it, but you were bored on a Tuesday and decided, hey, you know what, let's open it on a whim, and then 3 weeks later, you wake up, you've got a large beard, and you're filled to the brim with happiness? Yeah, it is that good. The game is so well designed that it tricks you into thinking it was made by a AAA company. But that's not to say that the game is easy. There's a lot of achievements and difficult trials that will be asked of you to do. Multiple playthroughs, speed running, overall completion collectathon. Your playstyle as a gamer is honored here in the completionist plight of 100% completing this game. And trust me, the closer you get to completing the game, the more aggravated you will become. Sorry, I know. Getting a little real in here. However, you'll really feel that you've earned your achievement by the time you are done.
They got something to gain, and only their sorry hides to lose.
When I play Bastion, I'm easily reminded as to how far video games have come along. We went from playing with, Mario in the 8-bit era, and before that with arcade games, to now more personalized stories like Bastion. Bastion has this unique feel that no other game I've ever played has. And that's saying a lot considering the large arsenal of games that I have completed. If you're a completionist, it's not going to be easy. You're going to have a lot of ups and downs with the endgame portion of it, but needless to say, it's a fantastic good time. You will be enjoying every second of that game from start to finish. So, with that in mind, guys, I give this game my completionist rating of finish it.
Finish it!
You guys still here? Before you go, make sure you click that subscribe button smack down with your mouse, or your keyboard, or your tab button, whatever you want with YouTube. And hey, if you missed last week's episode, give it a click right over here. Or if you just want to check out some of our other awesome videos, give them a click right here. Now back to myself, cause I'm talking, I guess. Back to me, yeah.
That's all that we've got for today, guys. So please, as always, let us know what you thought about today's episode somewhere on the internet. We have the subreddit r/thecompletions, which I'm there quite often, at least once or twice a day. We got Twitter, we got Instagram, we got Twitch, which I'm streaming a lot more lately. I'm going to be making announcement videos soon with an actual schedule. And at the very least, if you're still here, thank you for watching. Thank you for still being with us. This has been an incredible journey, and I'm so lucky to have all of you guys here. Now, if you excuse me, let's take a look at the little turrets from Portal as they make a little surprise cameo in Bastion. Now, we didn't talk about it a lot, but I thought it'd be fun to take a look at it right now. So if you're still here, enjoy these little Easter eggs from Portal.
Protecting John.
Will it finally arrived at Caelandia's vaunted safe haven? He and no one else.
Will you come back? I want to go home.
But then, all they got was more thankless work from a man who ain't even asked his name.
Removed data overflow.